Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Ever After Paper Crafts, and today I have a really fun card to share with you. And I'm also very honored to again be a part of the Craftin Desert Divas design team and get to showcase several of the new stamp sets. This is release week for Craftin Desert Divas, and there are many sets being released this month. And today we are showcasing the Sunny Smiles stamp set. How adorable are these little guys, all decked out in their little summer bathing suits, riding the waves or building sandcastles. It's just a really fun set. And today I thought we would make this card together on camera. I'd show you kind of the process of how I made this card. And then at the end of the video, I have another sample to share, a much simpler card, but I did want to share it with you just very quickly at the end of the video using another little guy from this cute stamp set. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you want to do if you want to create this card is you're going to want to cut out a rectangle of your choice. Now I happen to have used the this fancy rectangle from the Fancy Frames die set from Craftin Desert Divas, but you can use whatever you may happen to have, although I do highly recommend this die set if you're looking for a good rectangle set. It has some nesting rectangles with really pretty stitching, or the scalloped with the stitching. And it also has some other elements to it as well. So I definitely recommend that you check this out if you're looking for a rectangle. But you can use a die, or if you just don't have a die and you just want to cut this down to a size that you like to put on top of a card front, you can just use your paper trimmer. But whatever size that you decide to cut your rectangle, cut two of them. One is going to be for the base, where we're going to do our clouds and kind of build the scene. And then the other one we're going to use to create the waves and the sand. And the way that we're going to do that is I get to also showcase today some new dies that are being released from Craftin Desert Divas. It's actually a whole die set here. It has this fun coral and, you know, just several really neat elements to it. However, I'm going to be using these two elements today. And as you can see here, this is a wave die, and this is also a wave, or I kind of used it in my card for the beginning of the sand here, separating the sand from the waves. So all that you want to do is you want to take this other rectangle that you've cut out, either with your paper trimmer or with a die, and place kind of your scene on the rectangle. And so you're going to kind of tape it down. I use Post-it tape. It's a very non-tacky tape that makes it very easy to peel it right back up after it goes through your die machine. So I went ahead and I would cut these two out at the same time because they're different dies, and I can do that way. And when you do that, you are left with this and this. And then I would take this off and then move this one up slightly and cut it out again, and you are left with this. Okay, does that make sense? So this way you're getting a lot out of your paper. You're not just kind of wasting a lot of cardstock. You're getting a lot out of your paper. Plus, the dies that you have used, or the rectangle, or whatever you're doing. Since I'm using a die, I have the scalloped look to my dies here, and my waves will have that as well. And hopefully that will make sense as we go through. So all that you'd be left with on this piece of cardstock is the top here, which I save all of my cardstock. This is my nice Bristol Smooth, so I'll save it because I could probably get some stamped images on there, but you won't need it for this project. So you can either throw it away or just put it in your scrap pile. So then we can set our dies aside, because I already went ahead, as you can see, and ran these through the die cut machine before coming on camera to save some time. Now let me bring the finished card over. As you can see, we have some fun inking to do with some distress inks to give some fun distress look to our waves and to our sand. So let's go ahead and bring over some scratch paper, which I forgot to grab. Let me grab some scratch paper really quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our distress inks and then some water spray to create this fun effect. And I'm just going to start with the sand. So here's my scratch paper, and let me set the waves aside here. Okay, so now we have our sand, and I'm going to go ahead and start inking this. And the first thing that I'm going to do is grab my my ink blending tool, and I'm using 3 brown distress inks for the sand. I'm using Antique Linen, Vintage Photo, and Walnut Stain. And the first thing that I'm going to do is open up the antique linen and just cover the whole entire sand base with antique linen. This way we have a nice brown coating on our image here, and nobody will know that this was white to begin with. Really, it's kind of just a neat way to kind of, you know, get that distress ink effect when we spritz it with water, but the viewer's not going to know we ultimately started with a white piece of cardstock. So that's kind of a neat little thing to do. And again, this is Bristol Smooth. Bristol Smooth cardstock is my favorite to use for any type of ink blending, especially distress inks. It's just wonderful with distress inks. I love this. You can get this on Amazon, you can get it at lots of online retailers, and you can also buy this at Michael's with a coupon. So that's something to keep in mind. So next we're going to grab our vintage photo, and let me stick this down a little bit better here. Sometimes the little pads will wear off if you have to take them on and off like I do. And so I keep a bunch of extras nearby, but I think we can get by with this one for this project, hopefully. All right, now as you can see, I'm kind of folding up my scratch paper here to hold this, because your fingerprints will show, they will react to the distress ink on this Bristol Smooth cardstock and will leave fingerprint markings. So you kind of want to either use a scratch piece of cardstock or something to hold your paper for you as you're doing this inking. Okay, so I've kind of left just a little bit of the antique linen in the middle untouched to give that faded, or shaded rather, look that we're going for here to show a variance of color. And now I'm going to grab the very last brown that we're going to use, Walnut Stain. And we're just going to go slightly around the edges with this one. Always start off your paper, unless I have found I don't really need to do that with Distress Oxide inks because they're just amazing. But any other inks, I always start off the paper in a circular motion and then go into my project. That way I don't have globs of ink that it takes a while to blend out, or sometimes it's not possible to really blend it out because it's too big of a glob. So I find if I start off the paper, that eliminates that globby, the possibility of getting some globby ink that I can't blend on my project. Okay, so now the last step is I'm just going to take a little bit more antique linen and just kind of blend everything out one more time, kind of in the middle, to just give it a smooth blended look. And then we'll be done with our sand. Okay, so this is what our sand looks like. I haven't added the water yet. We'll do that at the end when all of our pieces are finished. So let me go ahead and put everything back really quickly before I make a mess, and then we'll get on to our waves. So there we go. There's that, the Walnut Stain, and the vintage photo. Okay, I have limited number of blending tools, so I have to always make sure that I take all the pads off before I start again. So I'm going to be using 3 colors as well for the waves. I'm going to be using Salty Ocean, Mermaid Lagoon, and Picked Raspberry. I'm sorry, oh my gosh, Picked Raspberry. That would be some kind of wave, wouldn't it? Cracked Pistachio, I'm sorry, Cracked Pistachio. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Salty Ocean. And again, just like I did with that antique linen on the sand, I'm going to coat the whole white piece here with this Salty Ocean. Again, so it looks like almost a blue piece of cardstock when we're done. Let's see, let me grab my scratch paper to hold it, and we'll just coat this whole thing. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other piece of wave cardstock while I'm doing this, just to kind of speed up the process a little bit. Do 2 at once here. Okay. All right, so we're just putting this on at this point. Nothing fancy, not caring where we put it. We're just covering the entire wave with this Salty Ocean ink. Next, we're going to bring out the Mermaid Lagoon, which is a slightly darker, beautiful blue. And we're just going to kind of sparingly kind of put this around our wave. So a little bit here, a little bit at the bottom. I'm kind of going to leave the tips of the waves free of the darker blue ink. And I'll show you why in just a moment. So I'm just kind of going around, adding some of the darker blue in random spots here, just to give it a little bit of contrast. Just a little bit of contrast. I'm going to do the same thing with our other wave here. Again, trying to leave the tips kind of free of that darker blue, and really just kind of work on the bottom and a little bit in the middle as we go along. All right. And now finally we're going to take our cracked pistachio and have a little bit of fun here. We want the tips of the waves to be a little bit lighter because the sun would kind of be reflecting on them. And sometimes at the ocean it can look almost, the water can look almost green. So I decided to pull out the cracked pistachio, and this time I'm actually not going to start off the paper. I'm just going to bring it right to the tips of my waves and really get that green to blend with the blue. So you have almost this really pretty, almost kind of like a sea green, I guess, if you will, look to the tips of your waves. I think that looks so nice there. I really do. I really like that. And I'm going to do the same thing with my other wave here. And I'm not, out of habit, I started on the paper that time, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to just bring it right to the paper instead of starting off the paper to really get that green kind of going and interacting with that blue that we've already laid down. All right, so that looks good. So those are our waves. Let's quickly put these inks away so we can move on here without making a mess. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to spritz these with some water to create that fun distressed effect. So let me grab, and I'm just using a distress sprayer from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to lightly spritz some water onto these different pieces of cardstock. And I'm just kind of pulling the little handle. What I like about this distress sprayer is if you pull it kind of 3/4 of the way, but not all the way, it'll come out in droplets, and I really like that effect. And now we're just going to take our paper towel and rub it against our cardstock here, so to really give us that fun distressed look. And let me pull this up to the camera so you can hopefully see better how it has that fun distressed look to it. So we're going to set these aside to dry, and now we're going to create our little cloud look. And let me bring over the finished card really quick. You could create this a number of ways. You could use circles, circle punches, scallop circle punches, create your own template that way. I happen to have a stencil, but it's not required. Again, you can do it lots of different ways. I'm just going to pull out my stencil though, because I have just found that it's really easy to work with, and has given me great results. And so this is just my little template here, and I know I don't have to go all the way down because my my sea and ocean and sand scene is going to cover up, but I'm going to go down pretty far just because, so I make sure I have enough. So you just put the stencil or whatever template you're using in place, and I'm just going to use Salty Ocean again for my sky, and I'm just going to lightly ink, make sure it's nice and blended here. And this is how we're going to create our sky. And I kind of just did it in a little angle this way, but you know, you could have your clouds straight across, you could have them the other angle. You can really do them however you would want to do them. There's no right or wrong way when you're talking about clouds, because they just kind of chill in the sky and there's no right or rhyme or reason to it sometimes. They're just very pretty. So again, I'm using a stencil, but you don't have to. You can use whatever you have in your stash to create this look. Before I had the stencil, I used scallop circle. I just punched out a scallop circle. I happened to have a scallop circle punch, and I just punched one out and, you know, did the same kind of thing. It just took a little bit longer because obviously it wasn't as wide as the stencil, but you can definitely improvise and use things you have in your stash. If you do have a stencil, I just use a baby wipe to clean them off on top of my scratch paper to get all that ink off, so I don't kind of run that ink onto my work surface. I have found that this works really well to clean off your stencils. All right, so now we're done with that. So here's our little sky that we've created here, and now we have to adhere the different pieces that we just created with the wave and the sand, and we next need to go ahead and adhere those to our card base. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put the sand down and line it up with the bottom with those scallops. And this is what I was talking about before. Because I used a die that has scallops and stitching across it, I wanted to make sure that the base of it, the sand and the waves, also had that. And that's why I cut out the 2 rectangles. So hopefully that makes a little more sense now that I'm putting it together. So I'm just going to take my adhesive and I'm just going to run a little bit of tape just along the bottom. And the reason I'm doing it just along the bottom for right now is because I'm going to be sticking the waves into this. Like behind it rather, and I don't want the adhesive all the way along the entire piece because then I wouldn't be able to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick the sand down, and I'm going to do the same thing with this next wave. And I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive along the bottom, and then we're just going to stick it down. And see, because I didn't put that down, that adhesive all the way, it's very easy to just slide this right down into the sand. Okay, there we go. And now we're going to do the same thing with the final piece of wave. And so we're just going to put some adhesive, and then you can go back later and of course put more adhesive on your project, just so you're comfortable that it's not going to whoops, and see, this one slipped out. So you definitely probably want to go back in and put more adhesive later. I'm doing this very lightly just so I can get all the pieces in place at this point. So let me try to hold this down a little bit better, and then we just simply slide this piece down behind. And you know, you could do this in such a fashion where you just cut one piece and then use another piece of cardstock instead of using the same piece, and it would be a lot easier. But I do like to save my cardstock if I can, so that's kind of why I did it this way. All right. And there we go, almost done. I'm just going to pull this off just a little bit to line this up a little bit better. And that's why I'm very light with my adhesive, because sometimes you do have to kind of pull it off and try again just to get it nice and lined up with the other scallops of the first rectangle that you put down. All right. So, but you get the idea. So you're just kind of building this scene. And then I like to kind of bend the waves so it's a little bit more 3D. So I probably wouldn't add adhesive to the wave part, but I might go back in with a glue dot or something and stick some kind of down here, you know, just to make sure it stays. But there's roughly, you get the idea of what your little scene is going to look like. So here's the finished card again, and I know this video is already kind of long, but I thought I'd quickly color this little giraffe as well, just to show you a little bit of coloring in this video as well. I already went ahead and stamped him with some Hero Arts black dyed ink, which is safe for watercoloring. I have a paper towel handy ready to go, and my water brush. And I'm using all zig markers for this coloring. I will call out the colors as I'm going along, but I will also have the colors that I used for everything that I color, the giraffe and the little hippo, on my blog if you would like a list of all of the colors that I used. So I'm going to start with the giraffe here. And for the giraffe, not the spots, but the actual giraffe, I use brown and yellow to get that fun little giraffe color. And I'm going to do this really quickly here, but I'm just scribbling some brown down. And some parts where I feel it's going to be a bit shaded. I'm thinking the sun's coming from this direction, so I'm kind of putting some shading here on her left side. And then of course under her hat brim, it's going to be shaded as well. And so then we're going to use our water brush to do the rest of the work for us, and it's going to fill up all this white space and create a really fun shaded look. Now, next, I'm going to just keep going down in the body here. So again, on the left side, I feel it's going to be darker. There's also going to be some darkness, of course, under her chin. I think it's a she. I colored her in pink, so for me, she's a she giraffe. And I'm taking the yellow and blending that color out, so we have a nice kind of shaded look already. And then we'll take our water brush to give us even more. With the water brush, you really almost get like a third color in doing this. It's really pretty, and that's why I almost always use the water brush. You can use zigs without a water brush and just blend them together like you would with Copic markers, and it also creates a lovely effect. But I love the look that the water brush gives me, so I tend to keep going back to that. So I'm just doing the same thing, coloring the rest of her little body here with the brown and the yellow. Oops, I got a little on her skirt, but I'll fix that in a moment. I really love the brown and the yellow together. really is a pretty color combination. It also works really good for like a light blonde hair combo as well. I've used it for hair before too, and I like it a lot. So we're just going to go around the feet here with the water brush. Let the water brush fill in all those empty spaces. All right, now for the spots on the giraffe, I did dark brown and brown. So I'm just going to kind of go in with a little bit of dark brown. I'm going to do probably 3 at a time right now because I'm trying to go very quickly. And then we'll fill in with the brown. Now some of the smaller little dots I didn't come in with a water brush, but most of them I did. Because again, you almost get this third color with your water brush, and it's very, very nice. So as you can see, the dots, the spots on her are a little bit darker than her body, which is kind of what a real giraffe would look like. We've got a couple more spots here. We've got this big one, so put in some dark brown, and then we'll go back in with the brown. There we go. And then we'll take our water brush to fill in this larger one here. There we go. Okay. Now we are going to color her little face, and for that I did brown or this part of her face rather. I did brown and light brown in my water brush, so I'm just going to scribble a little bit of brown down because it's going to be darkest kind of where the ice cream is, and then on the left side because again I'm imagining the sun's coming in from the right. And then I'm going to take some yellow. Whoops, I did yellow, didn't I? Out of habit, I meant light brown. Here's some light brown, and it's okay, you can scribble right over that yellow, no harm done. And now we're going to take our water brush and let that do the rest of the work. So it's just kind of a little bit lighter than the rest of her there. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing to her tummy. We're just going to do a little bit of brown, just a tiny little bit of brown, and then take some light brown. And then blend that out with our water brush. There we go. That's kind of what it should look like. Should have looked like a little bit lighter than the rest of the giraffe, but I messed up the little muzzle, but that's okay. It still looks cute. Now I'm going to take a little bit of red and just color her tongue. I'm not going to use a water brush on that. And let's go ahead and do her swimsuit. And I just used pink for her little swimsuit. So we're going to put some here. She's got a little swimsuit top up here, and she's got a little swimsuit bottom here. How cute is this? Super, super cute. So, and I usually just kind of do one piece at a time, but to save time for the video, I'm kind of scribbling color down a lot quicker than I normally would. Not that it takes a long time to use these, it really doesn't, but I do tend to work a little bit slower when I'm on my own just to really get that blending exactly how I like it. But as you can see, even doing this very quickly, I think it's really cute. So now I'm also going to use some pink on her hat. So we're going to put some pink down on this side and then over here, and then blend that out with the water brush. And you could add other pinks if you wanted. You could use a dark pink, you know, you could use this pink and light pink if you wanted to get a little bit more of a blend. I just kept it simple, and I'm just going to use blue here as well. A little bit of blue. Blend that out. My water brush. Super simple and beautiful effects, I think. I'm going to take some light pink and scribble on her little feet, and I'm not going to use a water brush there or on the inside of her ears. But let me go up, and we forgot to do her ear here, so we're back to the giraffe main color, which was brown and yellow. So we'll do that here. And sometimes in these slow places, these very narrow places, you do have to slow down just a little bit, but the tips of these markers and the tips of this particular water brush are fantastic, and I'm able to get into those small spaces without going out of the lines at all, which I love. Now for the little mane, I used dark brown and brown, the same that I used for the spots. So we'll just color these in and use the water brush to pull it out. Lovely, lovely. And for her little, let's see, for her little paw, I don't know what else to call it, arm, hand, I don't know. We're going to use brown and light brown again. And pull that out. For her little tail, I'm just going to use a brown and then a dark brown and brown for the bushy part here. And then all we have left to do here, guys, is the our little antlers. I don't know what you call those. Probably not antlers. I'm honestly not sure. But I'm going to use the dark brown, which is right here, and just color them in instead of using the water brush because they're so small. But see how tiny those are? And this brush, it's a brush tip. So it actually has bristles there like a paintbrush would, but they're so together to a point that you can use that point to really get into some really small spaces. And I've never had a problem getting into teeny tiny spaces before. It's great. So I just put some red, have like a little cherry ice cream here. I used some pink here for, you know, maybe some strawberry or something, ice cream. And I'm just using my water brush to get that nice blend, shaded look. And then I used some brown for some chocolate ice cream on the bottom. Pull that out with my water brush. I used dark brown for the cone, and I just colored that in. I didn't use my water brush on that, and I also didn't use my water brush on the cherry here. I just colored that in red, and then I forgot that there's a tiny little piece of her arm showing over here, so I just put some yellow down. And that's it, guys. That is super fast, I know, but I wanted you to see that even though I colored that so incredibly fast and not really paying much attention, you still get a really nice shaded look. So here's the final card again. I'm going to pull that over here. I really hope that you enjoyed this card and you'll give this kind of distressed look, scene building look a try. It really is easy. You can first look at this and maybe think, oh wow, that looks complicated, but it really did not take me any time at all. So here's the little background that I created on camera for you with the clouds in the sky, and here we have our waves and our sand with the distressed look. Super easy, and I did that in real time with you guys, so you can see it's very simple. To finish the card up, I simply created a note card 5.5 by 4.25 standard A2 size out of some kind of almost, it's almost looking like a blue in the film, in the video, but it's almost like a sea blue. It almost looks dark blue on camera, but it's really quite pretty. I put a piece of inexpensive white cardstock in the inside to write your message, and then I added some sequins, and that really finishes off the card. I added some glossy accents to her sunglasses on the hippo, and it's not going to pick it up, but I also added some really pretty Wink of Stella to the bathing suits and to the ice cream. So that finishes that card. I did want to show you one more sample card that I created using this set. This is a very simple card, very simple. I have some watercolor cardstock here. I cut it out with some a stitched rectangle from that Fancy Frames die from Craftin Desert Divas. I put some watercolor paints in different hues of blue down, let it dry, colored this cute little image from the stamp set, popped them up, put some design paper on the back, added some twine and some sequins, and the sentiments from both cards, of course, come from the same stamp set. So that was just another little sample, very simple card, but I wanted to show that to you as well. So that's it, guys. Finally, here's the stamp set again. Whoop, I'm throwing die cuts all around. Here's the stamp set again. I hope that you will head over to Craftin Desert Divas and see what the rest of the design team has created. There are some fabulous projects out there. And again, here are the two cards that I created with this set. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, send me an email or leave me a comment, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.